see, marriage is one thing, but having a child is another. People always ask, when do you want to get married? And then as soon as you do, it's when are you having a child? It feels like an endless cycle of questions.
Hey there everyone, welcome to Dulands, where we dive into the stories, trends and challenges shaping our life today. I'm Azman.
And I am Shami. Thanks for hanging out with us. You know, Azman, today's topic is one that hits close to home for a lot of people. But before we start, I want to share about some videos I came across on YouTube recently that left me reflecting for days. I can't remember all the details, but they talked about how lifestyle, values and beliefs have evolved over time and how these changes are affecting the economy and demographics. Take marriage for example. Society views it very differently now compared to the earlier generations. People are getting married later in life, and that's a fact. Why is this happening? What's driving the change? These are some of the questions I've been thinking about. Before we dive deeper, I've got a quick question for you. Do you want to get married, and if so, at what age?
That's a good question. I definitely want to get married, but the age, I probably say around 30. I feel like it's the right time when everything has settled down.
Oh, 30? That's later than I expected, but I get it. Settling down is so much harder now with how the economy is.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging.
You see, marriage is one thing, but having a child is another. People always ask, when do you want to get married? And then as soon as you do, it's when are you having a child? It feels like an endless cycle of questions. It's not that people don't want to have children, you know. It's just that the conditions aren't exactly favorable.
True, but children have always been considered one of life's greatest joy. They are laughter, they are little cures, and that heartwarming moment when they're calling you mom or dad can make all the struggles and hardship worthwhile. Parents naturally want to love and protect their children, but they mean so much.
Absolutely. Children not only bring joy but also serve a purpose. In the past, they played an essential role in helping out around the house or farm and taking care of their parents in old age. While that's still true to some extent, it's less apparent today, especially since birth rates have been declining globally. We don't have to look far. This is happening here in Malaysia as well. As of 2023, Malaysia's total fertility rate, or TFR, is 1.6, which is below the replacement level of 2.1.
For those who don't know, the fertility rate is the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime, while the birth rate refers to the number of live births per 1,000 people. These terms are often used interchangeable, with the TFR below replacement level is when the population is shrinking. Malaysia is heading in that direction, and this trend is expected to continue.
And what's surprising is that Malaysia isn't alone in this. In Asia, South Korea has the lowest TFR in the region and the world. At just 0.78, that's staggering. It means on average, each woman in South Korea has less than one child in a lifetime. Other countries like Singapore and Taiwan also have very low TFRs, both at 1.1. Each country has its own challenges, but we share some common factors which we'll discuss later.
Yeah, and to provide some local content, I come across recent figures from The Sun and The Straits Times in September this year. As of 2023, the average household size in Malaysia is 3.7 people. Perlis has the smallest household size at 3.7, while Kelantan has the largest at 4.8. This is significantly smaller compared to the 1917 when the national average was 5.5 people per household.
That's an noticeable change. I guess having large families was the norm back then?
Exactly. In my family, on my mother's side, there are 7 siblings, and on my father's side, 6. Most of my friends have at least 5 uncles and aunts on each side. What about your family, Shami?
In my case, it's pretty similar. My mother's side has 7 and my father's has 11. It was a big family.
I bet it was lively and chaotic during Hari Raya celebration, right?
Oh, definitely. It used to be overwhelming with all the chatter, laughter, and kids running around. But now that everyone has grown up, there are fewer young children. Most parents now only have 1 or 2 kids at most.
That's becoming the new norm, isn't it? Big families are rare these days. Based on the data, urban areas like Kuala Lumpur and Penang recorded the lowest TFR at 1.2, while only 3 states like Terengganu at 2.9, Kelantan at 2.7, and Pahang at 2.1 have TFRs above the replacement level.
I can see a connection between urban and rural living and fertility rates. Economic pressures play a big role. Life in the city is expensive. Housing prices are sky high even for small units. In rural areas you can't afford a much bigger house for the same price. I think limited living space also discourages people from having larger families. And then there's the cost of living, which is just crazy. Inflation is through the roof. Even as someone in my early 20s, I still remember how much more I could buy with 50 ringgit just 10 years ago. Back then it would fill an entire basket. Now, I'll be lucky to fill half.
That's so true. Grocery shopping feels like a painful task these days. Every time I finish, I just stare at my bank account in disbelief, wondering where all my money went.
It's tough, isn't it?
Okay, here's another fact. Did you know that the fertility rate also differs across all ethnic groups? Malay communities still maintain TFR at 2.1, but shockingly, the Chinese TFR is dangerously low at 0.8.
That's really scary. In the long run, the demographics might change if the trend persists. In order to deter this decline, we must first understand the causes of this problem. We've talked about one of them, which is the high cost of living, from education to healthcare. Everything is expensive. These are one of the basic necessities for a human, and how can someone afford it if it's beyond one's means?
That's so true. These basic needs can be out of reach for some people and what more to support someone else. Especially for the young couples who are just starting out in the new world, they were already expected to provide everything. This is worse for fresh graduates who obtain low wages in the early years of their careers and have to support themselves in this challenging era. Hence, many young individuals choose to delay marriage in order to achieve some sort of financial stability in their life.
And the problem doesn't end there. You also need to consider the cost incurred in order to raise your children. Basically, the more money you have, the better the chance your kids will succeed in their life. For example, you can send them to prestigious schools, enroll them in various enrichment activities like swimming, piano lessons, and more. As a result, then we get better results, better jobs, and better pay. This is so unfair for low-income families. They received limited exposure and got limited opportunities in life. Hence, that is the reason why modern parents are prioritizing quality over quantity, as they want to provide the best for their children.
This money problem gave rise to dual-income family where the women are actively participating in the workforce in order to support the family financially. However, long working hours, including time taken to commute, accounting for the traffic jam, has reduced the time and energy for kids. Plus, opportunities for career advancements at work also make it more difficult to consider having a child, as more responsibilities at work reduce prioritization of kids over career.
I think career is really important to many people. This is, I think, a reward for your hard work for all the years you spent from high school all the way to university in order to obtain a good job. And when you have one, you must want to advance and achieve the highest position, right? But by doing so, time is running out, as chasing career advancement causing people to marry later in life. Nowadays, on average, the age of marriage for men is 31 and women is 29, while back in 1970, men got married at 26 and women at 22.
And not to forget, when marriage gets delayed, so does having kids. The thing is, biology doesn't wait. Fertility declines with age, and by the time so couples are ready, they might face challenges conceiving.
Let's talk about lifestyle too. Modern living comes with its own set of challenges: stressful work, lack of sleep, and unhealthy diet. All of these affect fertility for both men and women, and then there's the decline in sperm quality linked to sedentary habits.
Another factor, family planning and reproductive healthcare. With access and modern contraceptive technologies, people have more choices. It's great the couple have more control over when to start a family, but that control sometimes lead to delays or even decision not to have kids at all.
We keep on talking about what causes the decline, but now let's talk about the effects of it, because I think most people don't actually realize the effects. One of the biggest effects is an aging population. By 2030, Malaysia is expected to become an aging society with over 15% of the population aged 60 and above.
And that's going to put a lot of pressure on our healthcare system. Older people need more medical care, which means higher costs for families and the government, not to mention pension and social welfare. With fewer working age people contributing to the system, there is a risk of financial strain. Younger generation might end up paying higher taxes.
Labour shortages are another big issue. A smaller workforce means less productivity, slow economic growth, and even struggles for businesses to stay competitive globally. And that could lead to Malaysia relying more on immigrant workers, which brings its own set of challenges, from integration to potential social tensions.
Absolutely. You see, although immigrants do contribute to increasing the birth rate, the difference between cultures and can cause conflicts. Many locals are also unable to tolerate their unruly behaviors, as we can see from the news. Their unsanitary living conditions, unhygienic practices, and crime committed. There also has been reports of them taking advantage of marrying the locals to get permanent residence. In the long run, we can observe a shift in demographic of interracial couples and newborns.
Declining birth rates lead to fewer consumers and significant economic challenges. With fewer young people entering the population, demand for goods and services targeting children, teenagers, and young adults decreases. While an aging population shifts consumption patterns towards healthcare and senior-focused industries, a shrinking workforce reduces overall spending power, limits economic growth, and impacts innovation. As the younger population typically drive demand for new products and trends, housing markets and industries relying on growing families also experience reduced demand. Globally, countries with declining birth rates may face economic stagnation and increased reliance on external markets, forcing businesses to adapt to smaller, older consumer bases.
But it's not all bad. Declining birth rate also brings some positive, which include higher standard of living. Parents can have more focus on their children and can invest more to provide them with the best education, lifestyle, and healthcare. And with fewer children, women can have more freedom with their career choice, financial and education. And environmentally speaking, fewer people mean putting less pressure on the environment, as the demand for resources like food, electricity, and water will be lower. And for the government, smaller population can be an opportunity to optimize public services. Imagine smaller classes and better healthcare access just like Singapore.
But what can actually be done? Because addressing this issue isn't just about throwing money at it. It's about creating an environment where having kids feels doable and rewarding.
That's right. It could help with that belief, and education, saving schemes, but affordable housing could be a game changer for young couples.
And workplaces need to step up. Flexible working hours, parenting leave, and even on-site childcare can make a huge difference. It's about creating family-friendly work cultures that don't force parents to choose between their jobs and their families.
Exactly. Another solution is better support for fertility treatment. Subsidizing IVF or another option could help couples who face challenges starting a family. Education also plays a role, teaching younger generation about the realities of family planning and the importance of starting earlier if they want kids.
But actually, we can't just leave these to the government or employees. It's a conversation we all need to be part of as families, friends, and citizens. Supporting parents, encouraging young couples, and even rethinking what it means to raise a family in today's world.
Right. Declining fertility rates aren't just about having fewer kids. They're about how our society is evolving and what we value as an individual.
It's not a simple problem and indeed very complex, but the root lies within oneself. We have to ask ourselves what really matters to us, money, a family, or both. It's no surprise that many people choose to become child-free or single because in these challenging times, it is widely becoming understandable to do so.
Many millennials grew up challenging environments, often in large families with many siblings. When it's their turn to become parents, they try their best to ensure their children don't face the same hardship they experience. I think this mindset of careful parenting continues with Gen Z parents as well.
In a way, this mindset is commendable because having a child means taking on a lifelong responsibility. Raising them with proper care, providing with the right education and meeting their basic needs is absolutely crucial. Failing to do so isn't just neglectful, it could even amount to abuse.
Exactly. It's heartbreaking to see news about children being abused by their own parent. Many people out there struggle to conceive and would give anything to help children, yet some who are blessed with children abuse their position and mistreat them. It's utterly sick and human.
Right. I believe the decision to have a child is deeply personal. It comes with both advantages and disadvantages, personally and even economically. At the end of the day, it's about doing what's best for you. If you decide to have children, make sure you're prepared physically, mentally, and financially. Educate yourself and be ready to provide the love and care a child deserves. If you decide not to have children, that's okay too. Maybe your time hasn't come yet, or it's simply not the right choice for you.
Yes, and now we are reaching the end of our podcast and we would like to listen from our listener. What is your opinion on these matters? You can share your thoughts in the comment section below and we can deeply appreciate your responses.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Countdown to Zero. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Together, we can keep the conversation going.
Until the next time, take care and stay curious. Bye for now.
Bye everyone.